Hi everybody, it's Dave here at English Pro once again. This time with a short video about active and passive voice. Many students get confused between the use of active and passive voice. Passive voice we use when we don't know or we don't care who the performer of the action is or was. We also can use passive voice to distance ourselves from what we are actually saying. I'll give some examples of that a little bit later in the video. But first, we use active voice. I'm using active voice now, and this means basically we're using the basic word order or structure of English, which is the person or the subject, then the verb, the object, place and time. That is the basic word order for any phrase, any time in English. But with passive voice, however, we sometimes want to put the emphasis on the object of our phrase and not the subject. And for this, we would use passive voice. Okay, so let's look at how we're going to change an active phrase into a passive phrase. The first thing we need to do is we're going to change the object in a passive phrase to the subject in a passive phrase. The second thing we need to do is we use the verb to be to create the time of our original phrase. If our original phrase was in present simple, then we use the verb to be am, are, is. If it's past, we use was, were. Present perfect, we need been, for example. The third thing we need to do is our verb in our active phrase, the principal verb, needs to be changed to the past participle form in the passive phrase. And finally, the fourth thing we need to do is use what we call the agent, which is by. Now this is an indication of who or what has actually performed the action. Sometimes we're just not interested or we just don't know who or what does the action. Therefore, we don't use it. So here we have an example, probably the most common example used in institutes around the world to explain active and passive voice. We have in active voice, the man shot the dog. As you can see, the man is the subject, shot is the verb, and the object is the dog. Now to make this phrase passive, we take the object of the active and make it the subject of the passive. So in this case, the object in active, the dog, becomes the subject of my passive. So we start with the dog. The second thing we need to do is my verb in my active phrase is past simple. So I use the verb to be in my passive phrase to create the time. So the past simple of the verb to be is was or were. Because we have the dog, it, we use was. The third thing we need to do is take a look at the verb in the active phrase and change it to the past participle phrase, the past participle form in the passive phrase. In this case, we have the verb shot, which is an irregular verb, and it doesn't change in its past participle form, so it's still shot. We then use the by agent to say who or what performed the action if we know or if it is relevant. So we can see in our active phrase, the man shot the dog, this becomes the dog was shot by the man. The man still performs the action. The dog did not pick up the gun and shoot the man. The man still shot the dog. However, in the passive phrase, we have put the emphasis on to the dog. So in this example, we can see they have found water on the moon. This is a present perfect tense. It gives us the subject they. Have found is my verb tense, which is present perfect. Water is my object, and on the moon is the place. Now, if I want to change this to passive voice, I'm going to take the object water and make that my subject. Okay? Have found becomes has been, because I'm using the verb to be to create the present perfect. Found is my principal verb in the past participle form. Again, it's a regular verb, so it just changes find, found. Found is the past participle. And on the moon is where they found the water. Now, in this particular example, I don't know or I don't care who they are. Astronauts probably are the people that found the water on the moon, but I don't know exactly who they are. So in the passive example, I don't use the by agent. Also, I'm not sure that this actually they have found water on the moon is true. So I want to distance myself from what I'm saying. So therefore, I use the passive voice by saying water has been found on the moon. Once again, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please click like and subscribe to the channel. We have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok and my YouTube channel, all under the name English for All Booger. Thanks very much. Bye for now.